Hi, my name is Mary Wong, and I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and acupuncturist and author of Pathways to Pregnancy. Tonight, we're going to make almond milk, and I have with me here already pre-soaked for 12 hours raw almonds that I have, and I'm going to show you. Before I make it, I'm going to give you all the goods about almonds, okay? So this is I used filtered water and half a teaspoon of sea salt. And I just put a whack of almonds in. The recipe calls for 1 cup, but I put a bit more than that in. Here's my leftover almonds that I can dehydrate. Oopsie, that was the water. Anyway, so this is the water that became kind of murky after, and partly I think it's a shell, but the other piece is when you have almonds, what happens is the shell has this phytic acid, and phytic acid is what is called an enzyme inhibitor, meaning that it can disturb the way your body will digest almonds. So that's why if you ever eat almonds, whether it is raw or roasted or cooked, what it happens is you may get bloating and digestive discomforts, but you don't actually have to if you soak it for a good 12 hours with filtered water and half a teaspoon of salt. And the other bit to this, the trick is that when you make the almond milk, for example, or with anything to do with almonds, you want to rinse it because, of course, you don't want to have the phytic acid left over on it as well. There's salt, right? So it can get too salty. So here it is, a cup, and I'm putting in my Vitamix here. And then I have 3 cups of water, filtered water. So it is so easy. I'm gonna put the lid on. Oh, and by the way, okay, this is gonna take a minute. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to talk while I do this. So, a little fun fact. When we talk about almonds, when you buy it roasted, because roasting almonds are always so tasty, right? But people ask me, you know, is it better to eat raw? Is it better to have it roasted? Is it okay to have roasted? Is it okay to have it non-organic? So I'm going to cover that before I make a lot of noise. So the very first thing, raw versus not raw. So raw almonds don't even really exist. I have to actually do research on this place in Concord, Ontario. It says that it's raw. But I do know as a fact, all of the United States, even if they say raw almonds, it's actually not raw. Because back in the early 2000s, there were a couple of cases of salmonella poisoning due to raw almonds. So there has been a legislated through the FDA, there's a law that you actually have to pasteurize almonds. So that means steaming it, and I forgot the exact temperature, but it's definitely well over 300 degrees, and it's about a 6-7 hour process, so it's like steaming it. So really, it's not raw, even though it says that it's raw. And so when you buy it, it looks kind of raw, but it really isn't. And then the second piece to that is, you know, should I really get organic versus non-organic? And of course, anything to do with organic, unfortunately, becomes more expensive. And so the question is, does it really get impacted? As you know, an almond nut is really, really hard. And the casing around it on an almond tree is actually also really hard. Now, the very truth of it all is that almond trees require lots of water, and when you have when you're spraying the almond tree with pesticides, what is going to happen is that there's going to be pesticides that gets leached, and it's actually more of a social environmental issue than it is about the physical almond having pesticide content. And I was trying to research and find articles on pesticide load for almonds, and I haven't really seen any. And again, because it's so hard, I'm not convinced that it has a huge amount of pesticide load. So your call, right? Like, do you buy organic or non-organic? If there is some, then obviously it's better to have organic. And again, it may be less dangerous and hazardous for the people that are workers in the fields that spray the pesticides. So, you know, it's really their health, and hopefully we're conscientious about other people's health as well as our own. So better to buy organic for that reason. But in terms of actual pesticide load for our well-being, not 100% sure. And again, just to be on the safe side, I guess, if you know that, let's say you're like a painter for a set, so you're actually around environmental toxins every day, day in, day out, well then sure, you know, you might want to add in less toxins in your body if there is such a thing in the almonds. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. So can I buy unpasteurized? Okay, so Darcy, you cannot buy unpasteurized almonds in the US because it does not exist anymore by law. And most of it comes from California. And by law, they're not allowed to have completely raw almonds anymore. Just because they passed that law since the early 2007 because of the fact that I guess a couple of people died from it. So there you have it. I'm sure you can get it maybe on the black market somewhere, but typically not. And then with regards to, do we roast almonds or not? Well, roasting, what happens is the actual almond has a lot of oil. And this oil, when you roast it, can get oxidized, which allows it to go more rancid. And when the roasting on a high heat, it can also denature and kind of lose the polyunsaturated fats within the almond. So if you really love roasted almonds, which I actually do, then I say roast it on your own versus buying it already roasted, because if it's already roasted, again, the shelf life is a lot shorter, because you have these, it gets oxidized, and when it gets oxidized, it will go bad very quickly. So when you do it yourself, obviously, well, hopefully you'll eat it up immediately. And then the other thing is, when it goes more rancid, it's a pro-inflammatory response that the body will have. So again, not great for your health, not great for overall health, and certainly not great for people that are trying to create babies, which are like, you know, minuscule cells in their body. So back to the almond milk. So here we have 1 cup of the pre-soaked filtered water almonds, and then 3 cups of filtered water with the almonds. And you can add like a drop of vanilla, or you can even add a couple of pitted dates if you want it sweetened, but I'm a bit of a purist, so I like it completely plain Jane. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And so now, so I'm putting it on high, and it's going to get more loud. Very loud. And you see it's getting white? Okay, I think that's enough noise for the evening. So let me put this away so that it's easier to see. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have a bowl with a lip so that I can easily pour it into my container later. Here's my strainer. And so listen, you can actually go and buy like food grade cloths and whatever, but I'm being Miss Asian cheap. Here's my tea towel. I'm sticking it over my strainer. And you know what? I'm gonna move this and maybe you can see this better. Whoa, sorry. Okay, here we go. Technical difficulties as per usual. All right, so here's my bowl with the tea towel and a strainer. And now I'm gonna pour the almond milk in. I have to give it a little time because otherwise we're going to overflow. Can you see that? So while I'm pouring and waiting, so I'm going to tell you this, okay? I bought the almonds bulk. People always complain, say, oh, you know, why buy organic and why make it? Things are just so cheap now. Well, why do we make almond milk on our own? Because I'll tell you, I just went to the store today to price things out. So in Canada, in Toronto, it was $2.99 for a little kind of like a Tetra Pak thing, right? So that's not cheap. But here, you know, I calculated out the almonds that I bought here for that 1 cup. I bought a lot more than that, but I calculated it out after bulk. For the 1 cup, it costs $2.65. So really, like, is that more expensive to make it? I think not. And then the other piece is, it's $2.65, and it only takes you really a minute to make it. Okay, so I'm lying, not maybe a minute, but it doesn't take that long. And I think the yield is actually more than the Tetra Pak things. And on top of that, after the yield, I'm also left with the pulp. So if you see, I'm going to squeeze my milk. My vegetarian cow. I'm milking my milk. And as I milk, yeah, for sure, this is more volume than the store-bought. So see, it's economical. And then, like I said, we're left with the pulp. And the pulp, what I do is I actually put it on a tray and I dry it out and I stick it in the toaster oven on low heat, because that becomes like almond flour, and then you can use it as almond flour for baked goods, your gluten-free baked goods, because most of you may know that more and more people are turning towards gluten-free, dairy-free, because it's just healthier for you in general, right? Okay, I'm going to give it like a giant squeeze. Okay, so I have to apologize that this tea towel is actually not organic. I do have some, but they're in the wash, so I'm afraid that I didn't use that. But have no fear, it's not going to cause an issue because it's not like this is hot liquid, right? So we're not going to get anything from the actual towel itself. And again, I'm saving you money. You don't have to buy more products and more kitchen gadgets. Ugh. Like seriously, your milk is done. This is it, right? Is it that hard? I think it takes me more to actually go to the store. Like by the time I go there, buy it, cash out, la 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 la, this is already done. You're at home. What does Darcy say? Can I use any blender or do I need a special kind? Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so ideally, of course, a higher grade, high-speed blender is better just because almonds are pretty hard. Even though you're soaking it for 12 hours, it's still going to be pretty hard. So better to invest in a good one. And I'll tell you right now, again, being my cheap Asian self, I initially was very resistant to buying the fancy Vitamix blender, which I have, and I have nothing to do with them, by the way. But it was my neighbor that said, oh, they sell it at Costco and it's cheaper, but it is still over 400 bucks, which is not cheap, as you well know. And it was a really big stretch for me to buy it, but in the end, I tell you, it was like an awesome gift to myself and for my family because we use it all the time. I make amazing smoothies, and you know, to be able to make milk like this. Okay, this is where I have my little technical difficulty and I don't have a cameraman, so I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hands. 1 second. Sing to yourself, but you can still hear me. La la la. All right, I'm back. Okay, so I found a very old container, and oh yeah, this is like way more than when you buy at the store, right? So I have a handy dandy filter, it's funnel, I mean, just throw it in here. So in truth, really, for those who have been watching the whole time, how long did this really take, right? Not long. And it is dairy-free, pesticide-free, free of any other kinds of extra ingredients that you will not recognize when you read the labels off of these almond milk packages, as I did today. I'm like, what the heck is that? So yes, I've had it before in the past, but this is way better. It keeps in the fridge a couple of days. But I can imagine you could even store it in the freezer and then it'll last you longer. Ta-da! Here you have milk. And you can store it in the fridge and it'll last you. So, back to my almonds. Thank you for watching, by the way. Right, so the pasteurized heated temperature is 165 degrees Fahrenheit that was used, okay? And they're usually done in metal containers, so it is safe. And they do it for a lot of nuts that you buy, by the way. And they also pasteurize even dried fruits like blueberries, strawberries, apricots for sure. And then for nuts, like most nuts, and that also includes things like flaxseed and chia seeds. So there you have it, the ins and outs of that. And with regards to more products, oh right, so this is what I do with the pulp, right? So I stick it on a baking tray. Oopsie daisy. And then I use parchment paper because you can cook with it. So I throw it in here. There's not much, but there is something. So some people will make the milk even thinner, so you can in fact add more water, so it's basically to taste. So I'm just going to show you now because we're going to sign off. You don't need to really see this piece, but look. So I'll be breaking it up, and then I'm going to put it in the oven to dry it out, and then I can use it again for cooking or baking, whatever. Okay. So thank you for joining me, and I'm so thrilled to make this with you, and hopefully you'll try it yourself. And if you like this post, please share, like my page, please. And I talk about things that are basically healthy for you, and if you're trying to conceive, obviously for trying to conceive your healthy baby. So check out my book. It's called Pathways to Pregnancy. Check out my website, which is marywong.life. And this page, like my page, Mary Wong RTCMP, and I hope to see you next time. Oh, again, I have to show you something. Next week, I am going to test the water in our house. And this is something that you can totally do, because what you want to do is avoid lead in your water, in your drinking water, because of the pipes that might contribute to lead. And lead, as we know, can contribute to health issues, and for sure health issues for unborn babies, so for pregnancy or for children, okay? So I'll see you next Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and be there, be square. Take care. Bye.